a senior lecturer in finance, yeah, finance and banking, okay, and also the head of program for that program, yeah. He is he has been with UMS. Before that, he was in Labuan. Yeah, Dr. Nelson, an expert in PLS. Yeah. I remember when I did my PhD, I got back to KK just to meet him, because just to make sure that what I'm doing from my supervisor is correct. Yeah, just want to make double sure. That's what I told my student. That's what I told student. If you're not, you need to seek other opinion, okay, but not necessarily take the opinion, but seek for other opinion for your PhD or masters, so that you can get ideas lah. Okay, if you look at Dr. Nelson Google Scholar, wow, it's a lot of research on financial literacy, behavioral finance, yeah, consumer finance, banking, and risk management. He's doing his DBA from UiTM, got his DBA from UiTM, and currently focusing on research on consumer financial behavior, things like that. Without further ado, let's go over to Dr. Nelson. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you, Dr. Izianti, for the wonderful introduction. Can you hear me? Boleh dengar kah?
Boleh, Doctor. Doctor,
ya, boleh kan?
Sebelum one question, yeah. Do you mind if the student interject you while you are speaking, or you want them to?
Boleh, boleh.
Boleh, okay. I will also read the
boleh.
comment from the box if there's any, yeah.
Ya, boleh, boleh.
Okay, thank you.
My presentation will be very simple saja, be just like based on my experience, because of course if I just put everything kan macam yang just macam like what I call it, plain kind of just put everything there, and then it's I would like to, in my talk I would like to what I call this include my experience of doing research. Okay, thank you, Dr. Izianti, for the kind of introduction to Miss Elizabeth, for Madam Elizabeth, for being approach me to do the actually I'm also not really there's a lot of what we call this yang lebih layak kan for the talk, but of course this I think most of you will be the new student for who took this what I call this kind of just enroll and then want to continue your study. But of course, the study again, you will ask yourself why you want to do the research, why you want to continue your study. Is it because of just some of them? This is my experience. Some of them maybe just ada siapa ni si Mary kan ni, Mary pun ada sini ya. Just want to continue because of of course like our we call this our profession, we have to do, because last time I also pikir-pikir begitu juga. I thought that okay, no need lah to further study because like this, but in our profession we need to continue our study because this is part of we call this we have to know how to conduct a research, and then because we are going to what call this supervised student, and so that's why it's very important for us to study. That's why I asked you just now, you're the what call this the importance of the why you want the objective or what you want to do the for example, some of them this is my experience, some of them just want to continue because of just one of my friend lah who want to continue study because saja, because want to to avoid being very busy with her job, kerja, because they very and use this this opportunity to continue study because just want to avoid the because of the hectic of their work lah so of course I hopefully all of you will get something lah, because this is a reality, because this is very simple saja lah but of course I think I'm the fifth speaker and also the last speaker for you to apalakan dapat graduate kira-kira can continue your of course you have to, after this you have to find you have to find, I can give you some tips later what call this how choosing your supervisor lah Of course, last time the first speaker by Dr. Rosaidi is talking about the problem statement. what is the topic? Yeah, you have to decide now what is the topic that you're going to do. Apa topik kamu mau buat ni? Are you going to do you know, when you want to do something topic, because actually you are actually finding a problem statement tu kan yang first by Rosaidi, you have to find what is topic you want to do and then find a solution to the problem. Yeah, not necessarily a solution, but you recommend a solution to the problem. Yeah, itu yang paling penting lah. This verse by Dr. Rosaidi. You have topic lah. I know some of you just apa and then okay nantilah later lah I'll find what is topic I'm going to do. But you have to decide now, because especially your area you want to do. Okay, I want to do this. For example, myself, I'm doing on apa financial literacy. So I have decided, okay, because of there's a lot of people like you know, experiencing bankruptcy begitu kan. So that's what I do. Then find what is the determinants, what are the you know, factor that contribute towards financial well-being, for example. Yeah, yeah. All right. I think apa ni macam cakap ni. All right. Okay, then you have like, okay, then what is the first part? You have to find the topics, and then you have Dr. Te looking into building your framework. What is the framework? What are the things you put in your framework? Apa benda-benda? What is your independent variable? What is your dependent variable? Macam you have to, you know, actually talking about your jangan keliru. You have to, don't be confused about apa. Your topic should be your apa. Your topic should be your DV, apa tu, dependent variables. Itulah, that is your topic. Because when you want to do, because you want to settle, or you want to you know, you want to find the solution to your dependent variable, which is your topic. Yeah. And then you have Dr. Sudin study area and also sampling technique. Hopefully hopefully you have find what is the technique you're going to do lah. Yeah. Then you have Dr. Tini, data analysis, of course. Yeah. I don't know where business, basically they will, I don't know you guys, whether you want going to do your, you know, your what is your what do you call your populations, whether you're going to do the, what do you call this, primary data, or whether you're going for secondary data lah. Yeah. And then of course myself today lah, whether you, at the end of the day you want to know the things that you're going to use in your, for example, like questioning, is it reliable, or is it valid or not. Yeah. That will be the that will be the okay. But after this, when finish this lecture, then you have to find, you have, I think most of you have been assigned to your particularly what call this, your supervisor. So betul kan anu lah, please contact your supervisor and then talk to them, and then of course the topic should come from you lah. Some of the students just come kan, they just go and then see the supervisor, and then the supervisor decide the topic, the apa. It's good, especially I think based on your experience. You find your experience. Your experience is the key actually. What is topic they're going to do, and then the topic should be in your interest lah. Okay, without further ado, let us go for the apa lah. You can interject me, boleh tanya-tanya if you want to ask me. There's a lot of China student here, yeah. China student today. Okay, tapi you can actually interject me asking me question. If I can answer, yeah, I will answer lah. Yeah, I also to be honest to you, I also continue learning. Jangan fikir we have finished our doctoral, our PhD, our DBA, things like that kan. That's, you know, that is saying that okay, that's it. I already get the highest qualification. That's it. No, I'm still learning. I'm still learning information, because last time when I did my doctoral, I used quantitative study. But when I embark in what you call this, I have, I think currently I have like 5 to 6 grant like that. Yeah? You know, embarked in, especially like external last time. I'm you know, I also involved with research, outside research. You know, some of the research require us to use other technique, pakai lagi teknik yang lain. So you know that's why I learn also other technique. For example, like qualitative. This is a very interesting what you call this research, because they have different approach. Yeah? Of course, I think some of the lecturer you need to find their apa lah, expertise lah. So some of them, like for example, like I think like Dr. Dabamini is mixed method. I think like Dr. Oscar, I think Dr. Izanti herself is quantitative. So me myself is a quantitative, but I also learn because you know what, especially if you do mixed method, mixed method, you can actually compare this mixed method. You do the quality and then the quantity, and then you merge them together and find the finding, because actually the quantitative, the reason what behind the reason of your result can be answered using the qualitative. Very interesting. So that's why if you ask me, I'm learning other technique, because at the end of the day the student might have different study, so I have to equip myself different techniques so student can apply. For example, like, okay, my student just finished his PhD, Dr. Matthew Kevin Bose. He's my student, just finished. Because of him, I have to learn WAPS PLS. It's another software. It's just a technique line, because I'm used to like Smart PLS, but because of him, I have to study WAP PLS just to help him to on the technique parts, yeah. Because of course different study have require different technique. Yeah? So I have to work it. It's a good things to me. Like I learn some other technique, and also Dr. Kevin also learn that particular technique, because I have to. I don't want when it comes, because sometimes some of the your supervisor, if they don't want to learn, the problem is at the end of the day they just can guide you until chapter 3, 1 2 3. No, they just suggest your technique, but at the end of the day, chapter 4, chapter 5 require you to do the data analysis. So that one is the technique that apply. Because the good thing is my myself last time, teacher adalah last time, because I learned from chapter 1 to chapter 5. I do it myself, so I'm quite versed on my on my study. That's why if you ask me to in like chapter 5, chapter 4, I can get from 1 to 5, for example lah, ya. Terus sikit-sikit promosi lah, kan, Izanti, Dr. Izanti. Alright, okay. Without further ado, we go to the it's a very short one, no need to lama-lama, because I'm more on I would like you to ask me questions, and also I'm sharing my knowledge, because I don't have the opportunity to what call this to share my when I did my doctoral lesson. I also asked the pasca to invite me for my experience lah. Nanti kita cerita itu, kita habiskan dulu. We go for the lecture first. It's a very short one, I think like 20 minutes like that, and then we go and some of my experience lah, ya. Alright. Nanti buang yang tidak berkenan tu, Dr. Madam Lily. Just go for the yang yang berkenaan. Okay. Let us saya okay, just to make sure that it's clear. I just stop my yeah. All right. A very good morning, everyone. Welcome to the talk, the fifth talk, the last talk before you will be able to get you, because it's a requirement for you to before you embark in your research. It's supposed to be your palai. It's supposed to be what you call this interesting journey. Jangan pikir yang this is don't think that this is a burden for you. And when when you decide to do your master, your PhD, at the end of the day, make sure that you get you finish your study. Jangan yang don't what we call this do it halfway. I think every one of you can graduate. I want to see you on the stage. Yeah. After 2 or 3 years from now, I think like master by research, I can show you, because okay, my student, I already I have a student, I have a problematic student, I have a good student. Yeah? My good student, did his what we call this proposal defense within one semester. Yeah, 1 semester. So I'm very grateful. Some of them is still not presenting. So it's a good experience to me lah. I have a not bad lah. Some of the students have a problem. Maybe they are working lah, working, and then but some of them I also ask them to hurry up and then do the proposal defense. Tidak yang perfect, There's no perfect what call this defense, there will be a critic to you. Nanti kita tengok macam tu. Kita go for this one first, ya. Alright, a research discourse series. I'm the last person to talk lah. I'm talking on the validity and reliability of data handling lah. Yeah. Alright. What is research data? This is talking about data handling. Yeah. So research data management (FDM) is a term that describes the organization storage. Organization, how you're going to arrange your data. Then you have storage. You have to store carefully. I'm talking about storage. You need to carefully storage your file. Don't put in one place your data. Suddenly, for example, you put them in your laptop. Suddenly, your data corrupted. Let's say your laptop corrupted. Habis semua your data. Right? But of course, it's good. Like during the pandemic, you ask people to to do the your question and answer your survey using using Google Form. That's a good idea lah, because you can actually store and then you can retrieve the data later. Preservation, how do you keep? Kena hati lah. Don't put some of the also there's a story, some of the story people like they put everything like their thesis, their proposal defend in one place. Tiba-tiba, for example, like his laptop been stolen, for example, mati kamu. You have to do it again, especially your data, because that data is your very important data. You have to have organization. How do you arrange them, storage, preservation, and also sharing of data collected and used in a research project. It involves the everyday management of research data during the lifetime of a research project. It's depend on your life whether you're going to do your it's up to you. Even I asked, this is my experience when I did my my DBA, my doctoral in UITM. I did it within 3 years and 7 months. The period of waiting my viva yang lama betul lah. It takes some time because people want to read the paper, and then that's why I finish everything viva and then correction is 4 plus. The other one is part time. I mean to say, boleh buat part time. I think most of you are doing part time. If you have the scholarship to do, full time, go for it. Karena saya bilang kamu relax. Okay, it involved the everyday management of data during the lifetime of a research project. For example, using consistent file naming convention. So basically, this is true. Jangan pula put your data. Okay, put something. Okay, the data for survey, my survey, for example. Janganlah put, different. Different. Thank you. Yeah, while working, saya finish my apply. Okay, involve don't put your data, then you don't know what is the name of of your file. Tidak tahu pula. Jangan put them if you go and see how I manage my data, I put based on title. For example, okay, this is my working this is my file for lecture this for consisting of this topic. This topic is I name my file so easier for you to retrieve your data. It also involves decision about how data will be preserved and shared after the project is completed. Senang. It's easy for you to retrieve data, preserve the data, because of course, especially if you collecting what we call this primary data. Okay, primary data is very talking about is very, because you collect them from the first source, primary data. First, and then your data is actually expensive, and then of course from that particular data you can do a lot of study. Okay, Dr. Izanti, banyak tuh your PhD punya banyak tuh. Even myself, I baru my doctoral, I only like 3 papers. Yeah, I have to update my data lah, in order for me to make it current if I want to continue publishing my writings on my thesis lah. You can do a lot. Okay, the long-term depositing. Yeah, for example, depositing the data in a repository for a long-term archiving and access. I mean to say you put them in one place and easy for you to access your data. Yeah. All right. So reason why research data management is important. First of all, data like journal, article, and book is scholarly a product. It's a product for you. Your data is actually there's a lot of things you can do with your data. You can present them to your organization. For example, if you're doing, let's say you are in the company or in your agency, for example, you can use your data to to suggest something. Yeah, data, especially digital data, is fragile and easily lost. And this is the things that I mentioned just now. Like you don't put your everything in one place. I even bought there's a cloud. Yeah, ada kan yang you can put them somewhere in a cloud. Your information, you put that in email, your proposal, your data, put in somewhere. Apart from your when you put in your in your in your laptop. Janganlah, because your laptop can be corrupted. So you have to put them uh, somewhere else, apart from your laptop, just as a security to you. Yeah, banyak tuh case begitu. There's a lot of case that suddenly they're corrupted and then they lost everything. Don't be like that. Yeah. So there are growing research data requirement imposed by funder and also publisher. Some of course, your funder, for example, siapa yang bagi kamu who gave you the scholarship for you to continue studying? Because sometimes they need the data, the one that you are going to study, because the data is very important for you to give them back later. You have to present them back. Yeah? And then research data management save time and resources in the long run. Okay, of course, it's easier for you to retrieve back. It's easier for you to find. And so now, good management help to prevent error, and increases the quality of your analysis. Yeah, correct. And this means to say is help you on that. Yeah, good management of your, the error can be minimized, and also increase the quality of your analysis line. So well-managed and accessible data allow others to validate and replicate finding. Okay, meaning to say based on your research, people can replicate your study and then conduct the study elsewhere di mana-mana tempat lain, and then find the more or less the same, more or less same result. Research data management facilitates sharing of data, and when shared, data can lead to valuable discoveries by others outside the original research team. Yeah? So especially the primary data, because of course, some of you might decide to do, but I think most of them are going to do the survey, and we collect them from the first hand of the primary data. Okay, some of them maybe go for a secondary data. Secondary is easier lah. No need. Orang tidak suka, if you don't like to meet people, you go for secondary data. Or easier for you to. But the challenge actually if you go and collect data on yourself, because the data will be very valuable because you are the only one have the data. Yeah. Okay, data management planning, things to consider. What is your things to consider? For example, your institutions and your funding agency expectation and policies. Apa yang promote? For example, your institution asks you, okay, we support you to continue your study. Make sure you present a bit. Some of you, when you go and collect the data, some of them will ask you, okay, is it possible for us to know what is the your study, based on your study, what is the final result? We want to know. For example, if you're doing something especially close to the institution, they want to know the finding. Ada some, especially the policymakers or the company, and they want to know what is the result. You have to present them. Okay, later on I will give you one copy of my study, for example. But of course, you have to make sure that the confidentiality of the of your respondent, whether you collect new data or reuse existing data. Where you collect data is a private data lah. When you ask for a survey, you go and then you ask them, that you will be your new data, because you're not going to use other data. The reuse existing data, that one basically is the secondary data, because everyone have an access to the data. So, but if you're doing for primary data, you are the only one to have that information, which is interesting. Yeah. So the kind of data collected and its format, apa punya data? Is it the primary? Whether it's from survey, okay, and whether you get everything, the things that you want to get. For example, the data is already exists. Then we're talking about secondary data. Yeah. So the quantity of data collected, berapa banyak, how many of data is enough. So the question is, especially when you do the survey, you want to ask yourself, how many is enough for me to collect data? This one is go back to your framework. Okay, the second talk on RDS, the research this talk is talking about that framework. It depends on your framework. The more complicated of your framework, the more that you need to collect your respondent. If you have a simple kind of there's a lot of technical. This is talking about sampling size, sample size. The techniques are a lot. One of them, popular, we call it like G power. To find that one, it depends on the complexity of your framework. So the kind of data collected and its format, the quantity data of how much is enough, is talking about that. But for qualitative, this is one different. Qualitative, walaupun because I'm now doing on qualitative, because I involved with outside a grant. This is from cooperative. Actually, when I propose, actually the idea come from me. I presented the idea. I said I want to do quantitative because quantitative is quite fast. Data, ask them to fill all the questions. Okay, that's it. Okay, fine. Again, then you get the data. But they asked me to change this. That's how I need to learn other technique. Qualitative, different. Like for example, like okay, for like quantitative, like if you go for survey, like okay, depending on your this is depending on your complexity of your framework. Okay, itu depend. If you more complex, you need to collect more. For example, like okay, if it's simple, like 100 plus or 200 plus, it would be enough. You see, some of the challenge is that primary data, like is it easy? And I give you some tip how to do your how to do your your master by research or your PhD. And saya bagi kamu tips. Remind you back, nanti saya tak lupa. Saya habis dulu zaman. I will try to find finish up my talk first. Storage and active data and backup policy and implementation. Storage and archiving option. Okay, you have to put them in cloud, put them in your email, put them in your laptop, put them in your external hard drive. My data, everything is in my external hard drive. But it's good for you to apply because there's a lot of data. You have to keep it. In terms of management is very important. Organizing and describing or labeling the data access and sharing. Is it easier for you to retrieve back the data or not? And also sharing, because of course, later on, when you finish your master, when you finish your PhD, you can use your data to do collaboration with other. Okay, let us write a paper, for example. So I mean to say you are sharing with your data with other, or maybe for example, your company or your agency want you to provide back the data to them, because it's important, because they're sponsoring you to do study, then you have to come up with the data. And then privacy, consent, intellectual property, and security issues. This is the things that you have to consider. Actually, if you collect you have to get privacy. You have to make sure that your respondent, the names, especially like qualitative, just now when I mentioned qualitative to quantity of data collected, different. Like qualitative just now, it depend. When you collect the data, maybe your target is like 12 respondent to be interviewed, for example. How do you decide whether it's enough? If you interviewing, for example, like 10 people, when the people, when the respondent, talking about the same thing, then there's a saturation in your cukup sudah tu. Meaning to say, if you ask these people, individual A, B, C, okay, still talking about A, talking about this thing, B talking about this thing, C talking about different thing, D talking about thing, and then E, for example, respondent E, and then continue talking about the same thing that what A and B say, and then it's enough. That one present different for qualitative. Privacy, consent, intellectual property, and security issues, role and responsibility for data management on your research team. Later lah, for example, like now there's no team lah you're going to do, but a research team with your lecturer. Okay, make sure it's actually the research team here. apart from later on when you finish, then you have your own research team. But now when you're doing your master or PhD, your team is your lecturer. Everything, when you write paper together with your supervisor. Budgeting for data management. Okay, it's not easy. For example, like survey, especially if you're doing in Malaysia. Tapi now because of the pandemic, because of you can do Google Form, easy lah for you to collect data. But some of you require to travel. But because one of my friend, my current PhD student, Saluma, she's waiting for PhD Viva, already for pre-Viva. She has she had to travel. She had to travel to Peninsula to interview the accounting or finance manager. And the one is different, right? All over Malaysia, they have to pick one line, like in KL, in Johor, in the north, and also in Sabah, Sarawak, things like that. It's difficult, right? So this way, later on, I will give you some tips on that. Budgeting for data management. Okay, what is primary? This is just pala, just about what goes to refresh you. Primary data is a kind of data that is collected directly from the data source. This is when you ask for interview, that is will be your data source without going through any existing sources. So existing sources will be your secondary data. It is mostly collected specifically for a research project and may be shared publicly to be used for other research. Primary data is reliable, authentic, objective as much as it was collected with the purpose of addressing the particular research problem. This research problem is the first talk given to the first by Dr. Rosaidi. It is not noteworthy that primary data is not commonly collected because it is high cost of implementation. You have to travel. For example, if you go doing like in China, for example, the China student, maybe for example, you want to. That's why some of the students will only like, for example, doing one particular area. Because of what? Because of the cost. But you have to travel. That one will incur costs. Okay, traveling to one murah, a hotel, everything. So a common example of primary data is the data collected by organization during market research, product research, and also competitive analysis. Okay, this data is collected directly from its original source, which in most cases are the existing and potential customer. Most of the people who collected primary data are government. See, because they want to use the data. But that's why very important. Your primary data is actually very valuable to the government, authorized agency, investigator, and also research-based private institutions. Yeah. Okay, this is the pro and cons. Just go like that. And primary data is specifically to the needs of the researcher at the moments of the data collection. The researcher is able to control the kind of data that you have. Of course, you have a control. You want to collect what kind of data. It is accurate compared to secondary data. See, primary data is very good because you go to the main source. Tanya orang betul. You ask the question, why is the thing is like this? You want to ask the problem. Why you are having problem, for example. Go to the main sources, they will give you the answer. The data is not subjected to personal bias, and as such, the authenticity can be trusted. You can trust your data. Okay, the researcher exhibit ownership of the data. Of course, that is your data is yours in terms of like intellectual property. That is yours, and the data collected through primary research. He or she may choose to make it available publicly, patent it, and also even sell it. And if people want to, you can sell to your organization. Primary data is usually up to date because it collects data in a real time. Does not collect data from an old source. It's not, the data is not being published elsewhere. Yeah? So the primary data is usually up to date. Yeah? Okay, the researcher was full control over the data collected through primary research. He can decide which design, what kind of design you want to do with survey, what method you want to do, and also data analysis technique to be used. Yeah, this is the cons line. The difficulty of the primary data. The primary data is very expensive compared to secondary data. Tapi of course, some of the secondary data, if you want to get, you have also to pay lah. For example, like you didn't have an access, but UMS we have the Bloomberg, for example. So you can go there for free lah. But actually, the one is not free. If you want to go, if let's say UMS do not offer this kind of we call this Bloomberg, you have to find the data. You have to pay for it. Yeah? Therefore, it might be difficult to might be difficult. Of course, primary data is much more difficult because you go to the sources. Yeah, so it is time consuming. Yeah, you have to like months. Yeah, for example, I think my student Saluma, you know, she has to travel. You have to, because she's working also. She's doing her PhD part time. Yeah, I think this is like 6 or 7 years already. But this is part time, right? It may be feasible to collect primary data in some cases due to its complexity and required commitment. Yeah, memang this is very complex because you have to, if you ask for people to finding, I will give you some tips later, like it's not easy, especially if you go like using questionnaire, the printed one, go and ask them to apply. Some of them will not going to entertain you, tidak layan pun, yeah. What is secondary data? The secondary data is the data that has been collected in the past. Okay, this is one, for example, like DOSM, Department of Statistic of Malaysia. For example, you get the data there of Bloomberg. Data is ready there, just for you to collect which data do you want to do. Okay, been collected in the past by someone else, but made available for other to use. They are usually ones primary data. Dulu, first, of course, when people collect the data, that can be a primary data in the first stage, yeah. But of course, after sometime that one become a secondary because people using the data, and then it becomes secondary data. Okay, used by the third party. Okay, secondary data are usually easily accessible to researcher and individual because they are mostly shared publicly. This is publicly accessible. This, however, means that the data are usually general and not tailored. Tailored here mean tailored mean here because the data is already there. You cannot the data, because sometimes if you do from the data, you can tell, okay, I want this respondent, I want this place, I want to collect this this location, for example. You can tell it. Kau boleh atur apa benda yang kamu tell it specifically to the meta research need or as the primary data does. For example, when conducting a research thesis, researcher need to consult past work done in this field and add finding to the to the literature review. Some other things like definition and theorems are secondary data are not added to the thesis to be properly referenced. Cited accordingly. Some common sources of secondary data include publication, government statistic, journal, etc., etc. In most cases, these sources cannot be trusted as authentic. But of course, if we go to like Bloomberg, like DOSM, Department of Statistics of Malaysia, this is basically is trusted, yeah. Okay, this is the pro for secondary data. Is easily accessible compared to primary data. Secondary data is available in different platforms that can be accessed. Like you can get it from Department of Statistics of Malaysia, get it from Bloomberg. You can from other sources that you think that will be trusted line by the researcher. Secondary data is very affordable. It requires little to no cost to obtain them because they are sometimes given out for free. But in University UMS, you are lucky enough, boleh dapat tu Bloomberg semua data-data. For example, if you're doing economics or finance, you can find the data there. But some of the data like marketing, you have to go for primary data. If you're in marketing area management, tourism, you have to go for primary data. You have to cook and survey. Tapi interesting, very interesting, because one of my friend Pon Shafinas, she's currently waiting for her Viva. She went to, for example, like collect data from places of interest, for example, like in Sepilog, get the data from the visitor of that. You have to travel to interesting places also, like depending on your right? Second data make it possible to carry out longitudinal studies without having to wait for a long time to draw conclusion. Longitudinal is actually the panel data. You're talking about like, okay, you're looking on comparing, for example, like country by country and also from year to year. So it helped to generate new insight into existing primary data. This is cons in data may not be authentic and reliable. So researcher may need to further verify the data collected from the available sources. Researcher may have to deal with irrelevant data, and some of the data is not usable. You can use them for your study. before finally finding the required data. Some of the data is exaggerated lebih lah. To say it's not really like that, but because of course, for example, like financial statement. If you go, for example, if you're in accounting, you want to find financial statement. Some of the company will present it beautifully because to attract investor. You see, exaggerated due to the personal bias and also data source. Some people want to present them nicely, so people will look at them, because for investor, you look at the financial statement, you know whether the company is doing well or not. Okay, that so majority of their part, they try their best to make it presentable, exaggerated, terlebih-lebih, yeah. Okay, secondary data source are sometimes outdated. Yeah, berpakai. That's why you have to be careful lah, yeah? Because secondary data is the collection of the data may be done 10 years from now, for example. So that one data is considered outdated lah. Yeah, you have to find a new one. But of course, now secondary data is, you can find it the latest, for example, latest data is it's now is quite updated lah. Yeah? Okay, the hallmark of scientific part of your research. Okay, purposiveness. Purposiveness here mean you have to target. Some nanti kita tengok macam mana. Purposiveness you need to say basically for for quantitative, and then if you go for survey, you have to know what is the purpose of this research. Purposiveness. If you want to collect this particular respondent, why you want to collect them? Because of the criteria of the research. The topic you want to collect, for example, those who have, for example, debt. You want to find why people bankrupt, for example. So in order for you to find this particular respondent, you have to find those who have who have debt, ada hutang-hutang. You have to find betul-betul, purposive. You have to decide, who will be your respondent. Rigor means to say is scientifically follow. Later on, you have to have like you have to have like a rigor kind of scientific. First step is like this. Second step, third step, like that. You have to make it rigor and scientifically, because at the end of the day, you want people, when they replicate your study, what balik study in other, because when you publish a paper, people will, okay, this is a very good study. Why did I use this study to do this in my country, for example? Yeah. So people can replicate. Yeah. Testability, people can test them. Replicability, this one talking about, okay, people can apply them to their place, to their context. Yeah? Precision and confident, people confident with the part. Objectivity, generalizability, you can generalize your study. Of course, yeah, because this is the issues, yeah, whether you can generalize your part. Some people will say, okay, go for example, you're talking about your technique line, whether you go for probability or non-probability. But to be honest to you, if you go for a survey, okay, people say, okay, I go for probability survey because they can generalize. People always say, okay, you cannot use the non-probability to generalize your finding. You have to do it using non-probability, because one, people is not like a point, because those who in science people, for example, okay, I want to go to do sampling, for example, there's let's say I'm a scientist, so apa tu, what do you call this, I know I'm from science stream, for example, okay, I want to take a sample from, okay, this apa, let's say I know there's a pond, for example, like pond A, B, kolam ikan A, B, and C. Okay, I only want to collect 5 from pond A, pond B, let's say 3, and then pond C, 3 sample, for example, 3 from each of the pods. You get the step column. You can pick the fish will not apply. The fish will not. Oh, I don't want you to choose me, for example. That one okay for science student. But for us, a social study, when you talk about people, you cannot do the generalization. You cannot use the probability sampling, because there's a lot of assumption when you do the probability sampling. Orang sini kebanyakan bangga lah, okay, I do the probability sampling, but actually in the social science, because you are dealing with human, it's difficult for you to do generalization, because people basically, okay, if you ask, because one of the you have to have a sample frame. Mesti ada sample frame. You have to have the senarai, the list of name of your and then you have to choose it, for example, using using what you call this, using probability sampling. I mean to say, each of the, you have the list, you want to choose the fourth name, each of the, the list, the fourth name of each of the part, you choose that particular part, that particular respondent to respond. For example, number 4, number 8, number 12, and so on. For example, then when you have to have the system, it's talking about probability sampling. But talking about people, when you're talking about, even if you do that, if you ask the people, okay, number 4, people name number 4, you ask them, okay, please help me, hello, help me to fill up the question. Oh, then suddenly the respondent number 4 said, no, I don't want to. Yeah, and then you already, what do you call this? You know, because this is assumption, the people that you choose must agree to, what do you call this? Agree to participate. If you don't, then you actually already, did not meet the probability sampling requirement, because there's a lot of assumption. Parsimony mean to say here, what do you call it? You're talking about your framework, talking about it must be easier. It must be, maybe, because some of the question, especially student, later on you need to know this. Talking about reliability, you have to know that don't ask too many questions, and then the question should be not be a double barrel. It's the same question asking second, again and again. I think we will look on that later. Yeah, this is talking about the home of research. Yeah. Okay. Threat will be validity. Is it valid? Is it reliable? Is it you can generalize the finding. Reproducibility, you can produce back in, if you can use that, questionnaire, you go for to, to other country, for example, is it can be replicated or not? It can be, if the people, use that your questionnaire, is there, will they, will at the end of the day, will they find the finding will be more or less the same? So this is the question. Okay. Okay, we go to the validity. Refer to whether the research or test measures what is intended to measure. Okay, addresses the extent of your data collection instrument actually measure what your part. Okay, talking about validity in like smart PLS, to tell you the truth. Yeah. For example, can I show you? Let me show you. Okay. Let me show you. I press open, show in smart PLS example. Yeah. Okay, you can see this one. This is talking about reliability. Care to say the question that you ask really measure your item. This is okay. This is the construct. This is your variables. So this is your item. Okay, this is question A, question A 1, 2, 3. There's only 5 questions to measure your, let's say, your EE, for example, here. Yeah. Okay, for example, this is one of the construct. Okay, this one really actually measure. Talking about reliability, whether the measure that you use, the item that you use, is actually reliable to measure your construct. For example, this is talking about reliability. Talking about validity is talking about like this. Okay, or like this. For example, your EE, E1, E2, 3, 4, 5 only measure your EE. It don't measure, for example, suddenly, for example, let's say EE also measure IFN, or EE1 also measure. This one is talking about validity. Okay, it's supposed to be reliable. Talking about reliable Indian smart PLS, for example, it's only this one that you use. This one is only measure your EE. It does not measure other construct. This is talking about reliability. It's only talking about this one, and it does not what call this measure other things like that. If you, for example, this one also for example also measure IFN or mean to suggest some issues of multi-cloud. This is talking valid, whether your questionnaire will be is not valid, because it's also not, apart from measuring this one EE, it's also measuring other things. This is talking about validity. This is talking here in PLS. You're talking about validity. Now you want to make sure the measurement that you use, the question that in your questionnaire, you only measure the things you want to measure. Okay? All right, so that is validity. Yeah? Reliability is referred to whether a tool or instrument measure the phenomenon of interest consistently and provide the same result, reflect the extent that the result of the measurement consistently and accurately represent. You say just now, yeah, when I show you just now, the EE1 until 5 only measure the EE. It does not measure the other IFIN and also the different apa. Kalau tiba-tiba kamu punya apa tu your questionnaire juga mengukur construction, that is your question is not valid lah. Reflect the extent, the result of the measurement consistent and accurately represent the true magnitude or quality of the construct. In other words, reliability is a measure is an indication the stability and consistent with which the instrument measure the concept and help to assess the goodness of the measure. Okay, there's a lot of different method. Like several researchers have noted that there are two fundamental ways to control for method biases. One way is statistically control the effect of the method biases after the data have been gathered. When you collect upon later on, if you go for a survey, for example, if you collect data, okay, help me to collect this one, answer my question. If you find the questionnaire only, for example, like you have scale 1 to 5, kan? Strongly disagree to strongly agree, for example, 1 to 5 lah, okay. Suddenly the respondent only answer one part only. For example, strongly agrees all the way from question A until, for example, question D, for example, or answer the same thing. This is talking about straight lining. Dia orang tidak baca betul-betul, dia just jawab macam tu, itu buang. That kind of question you cannot process. You need to say they don't read the question. Minimize the effect through the careful design of the study procedure. Okay, obtain measures of predictor and criterion, also careful design of the, you have to design carefully later on. You need to talking about this one. Don't ask too much question. Just now, when if you saw one of my study just now, I only asked 5 questions, because if you ask 20 questions for only to measure one construct or one variable, people will not read the question. So make sure if you're doing survey, jangan terlalu banyak question. Actually, you can use 5, 6, itu cukup sudah. Jangan terlalu banyak, because if you ask too much, the tendency of people not reading is high. Okay, kena hati-hati begitu ya. Okay, obtain. Okay, the procedure obtain a measure of predictor and criterion variable from different sources. To do the example in a study examining the link between employee job satisfaction and job performance, have the employee rate the job satisfaction, and then have the supervisor rate the job. For example, this like ensure you the anonymity, the confidentiality. Janganlah people, especially like qualitative. You don't apply. Okay, ini no. For example, this is the director of this agency. No, you don't name them. You have to, make sure that the anonymity. Kamu tinggal kasi tedakan nama siapa yang jawab soalan tu, because you want to make it confidential. Janganlah dedakan siapa kami partisipan, because this is very sensitive. Some people don't want to be known, because for example, like if it's a sensitive kind of research, some of them don't want you to put the name there. So counterbalance and the other. This is talking about questionnaire. Some of the question you asking, you have to make sure that your question, this is applied. One of them for you, you want to find whether the people read your question or not. Because for example, I like durian. I like the smell. I like all the same direction. For example, positive. But make one of the question. For example, you ask, let's say you ask negative kind of one. If they still answer the same rating scale, for example, like 5, means they don't read the question. Yeah, that's one way. Use scale items which are written clearly and precisely. For example, like Likert scale, less bias to bias. Okay, inform participant that there are no preferred or correct answer. For example, okay, the answer can be there's no correct right answer or wrong answer. because they want to get the opinion, the honest appraisal of the item. So ensure that all responses require equal effort. Okay, jangan tanya, don't use complicated word. For example, like I have experience. That's why it depends who's your respondent. Last time when I do the research on Prasi, because we interviewed the ahli lembaga of the the board of directors of the koperasi. Most of them like koperasi, they don't, in terms of like qualification, they everyone can be the board of directors. So you have to apply. Some of them maybe qualification, for example, like let's say they have like lower kind of qualification. Let's say PMR, like I don't know, the channels might be blurred on this, like lower kind of then you ask the question that they understand. This is the what call this, the the other word lie. Don't use the complicated word. Ask question question using words or sentence that they can understand clearly. For example, okay, for example, like last time I asked people, do you experience insomnia, for example? Kamu ada masalah kah? Masalah tidur. For example, by people who do not know the term, for example, apa benda ni, they don't understand. That's why you have to do the pretest to make sure that people understand your question, especially if you go for the lower. Your question is too academic, for example, you ask the people, they don't understand. It's a problem. So also double barrel mean to say you're asking the same question, or you're talking about one question, but you're asking two questions in one question. For example, okay, for example, are you pretty and good? For example, you can ask two questions. You have to separate the question. Provide clear instruction for completing the measure with definition to avoid confusion. Okay. All right, this is talking about the ability to respond. What will be the reason people don't give you the right answer? One of them maybe you yourself, you cannot communicate with people, especially like qualitative. You have to be a good part. You can make the people understand what is your question. Karena pandai lah bercerita ya. Kalau like qualitative, kalau you yourself cannot cannot interview people, you also have problem of facing people, for example, berjumpa orang yang suka, janganlah guna qualitative lah. Okay, verbal ability, maybe because of you yourself, when you ask the question, they don't understand. Education, this is a problem. When you go like asking, like I mentioned just now, when you ask people with different qualification, you have to understand the context. Kena tanya lah, okay, kena jangan tanya, apa tu, madam, do you have any problem on you have insomnia? Oh, dia pun tidak paham. Actually, kalau tukar bahasa biasa, it's actually difficulty to to sleep, for example. Use the common, especially talking about in terms of like education. Cognitive sophistication. This is talking about like just now. People at that level, they cannot understand sophisticated kind of wording. Ada guna lah bahasa yang biasa orang paham ya. Okay. Okay. Potential remedies of this problem: retesting. Retesting means to say, if you go for a survey, make sure you go and sit with the potential apa. Tanya dorang. Saya dulu buat macam tu lah, because of their education and then cognitive sophistication. I sit with them. Okay, hello tuan dan puan. Do you understand this question? We go one by one the question. If they understand, okay. Okay, then when you keep the question. If they don't understand, then you have to make sure that they understand the question, because if not, kalau kamu tidak buat macam ni, people, you get different your intention, people will answer them differently because they don't understand. It is a problem. Because of that, your answer might be, your finding will not be significant, for example, or because of that, people will not understand, they just answer saja. Okay, tips. Okay, this is the last one. Okay, for today. Okay, like I mentioned just now, if you do your PhD or your master, make sure you have the right topic. You have the right topic. Some of the students ask the supervisor, okay, I want to do, okay, I don't know what to do. Can you suggest me? Habislah kau kalau begitu. If you like the topic, okay. But if you don't like the topic, macam mana? People will, you have to make sure you and your supervisor also know the topic they want to do. Right? So right respondent just now, okay. tengok difficulty, is it easy? Like I mentioned just now, Saloma, my student, she go for apa? Ask the respondent is the manager. Is it? Do you think it's easy to get appointment with them? When you do your master, your PhD, that's why saya cepat habis dulu. Because my respondent is easy to find. It's easy for you to approach. Senang. Janganlah bicara yang susah. Because if you go for that organization, okay, I want to tackle this problem. I want to interview the director of the company. Ini memang lambat habis. Terus terang. This is your technique. You have to find respondent that easy for you to find. Because, when you calculate the sampling later, pening kalau quantitative ni ya, pening lah kalau macam like quali, of course you can find like 12, 15, 20 respondent, but for quantitative it's not enough. So you have to be pandai, you have to be, that's why I smart last time. I find my respondent yang senang mendapat. It's easy for you to approach and easy for you to find. Don't go for like asking the manager, asking all this apa, that one is difficult. You of course you will take time for your master or your PhD. Exclude threat light, and this is when I mentioned just now. If you if you ask them to answer your survey, if you check all the answer is the same, buang lah. You don't know that. This is talking about straight line or outliers. People mean to say they don't read the question. Job campus ya. Pretest content validity. This is talking about just now, right? You have to appoint someone from the expert. Ask them. Like usually, kalau expert is the professor or the in academic. Yeah, ask them whether the question you're asking is valid or reliable or not. Okay, respondent also the same. You have to sit with your respondent because this now is depend. If you ask for like, let's say you go for like let's say housewife, go for like people with like not necessarily the common farmer, for example, or fisherman, for example. You want to ask them question, make sure they understand your question. If not, you get different question. Token here. Okay, I mentioned just now. Okay, if you go for like go for interview, do you think people want to answer your question or not? It is for free only. You give them pen. You have to bring. If this way, if you have this is apply. This is actually a strategy for you lah. If you want to collect data, you give them something, then people will I will answer the question. They're happy to answer. Because if not, it's gimana? If you go approach people don't like it. People especially like because for primary data is difficult for you to approach. Macam orang pun malas melayan. Kau pun setanya aku diriku sendiri lah. People approach you to answer few things. Kau pun tidak mau layan kan? Token mean you give them something. For example, give them if you have more budget, give good apa lah. If you have budget on this, bagi orang yang apa macam ujian lah, bagi payung for example, umbrella, itu contoh dia lah. Enjoy your study. Ini kau kena enjoy lah. Terus terang. You have to enjoy your study because if you don't enjoy, you think when you do your master by research or your PhD is for you is a beban, it's a burden for you. You don't like it. Kenapa lah saya buat bagus. It's good for me to sleep. Saya boleh tidur sampai besok begitu. Kau fikir begitu. Kenapa lah saya buat benda ni? Mungkin susah lah. It's not easy. Some people think buat PhD because if you have the wrong objective, for example, you want to get title doctor, it's a wrong objective. Kalau dalam Islam tu bilang niat pun sudah salah. Tidak betul. Buat mau ambil dapat job doktor supaya nampak apa. Banyak sudah doktor sekarang. Ya. Jangan pula use your doctor in a flight. Nanti kalau apa-apa berlaku di flight, nanti ada orang pingsan, kau kena cari itu. Sebenarnya saya pun tidak letak. I don't put my doctor because only medical doctor can put their doctor in online because you can put them in write papers and attend. Terus terang. Last time I enjoy my study very much. If you ask me to do again a second page, I like to do it. Saya sangat because last time when UMS different because we as staff when you go for like methodology course, semua yang cerita those who I know penceramah, they give you scary kind of punya experience. Oh, I like this. It's very terrible when I'm PhD. I don't want to do. I swear to God, I don't want to do it again. Begitu. Tapi because of that, saya lambat lah misalnya. Takut lah. You're afraid of your. Am I ready for it? Am I will finish my PhD, finish my doctoral, for example. Itu banyak tuh, you have to enjoy. Write papers, terus terang, when I did my, I went to Thailand, I went to Indonesia to present during my study. Went to prepare, I went to Oxford, and then pergilah jalan-jalan kan, enjoy your paper, present your paper, because you're finding, because why you attend this on the paper, jangan you shock sendiri. And to say you only, I know, oh, I'm doing this study, I think I am the expert of that. You have to go to the to the, what do you call this, to the expert in the field. They will comment your paper, because last time I went, when I presented my my idea in a colloquium, this week I'm on the colloquium pas ni kan, people will give you suggestion to improve. Some people, they don't like to go to schooling because putlah kena tembak, they don't like to be commented by apa. But actually, to be honest to you, good, peduli lah. Don't care about the comment. It's the comment, you use that comment as the improvement of your study. Jangan pikir yang apa. Biasalah to people have different view, and then sometimes, especially the, what do you call this, especially the kita panggil apa ni, the practitioner. They might not be the same thing. They have different idea from yours, and they will give you, especially like when I went to like pergi luar negara, they like to for example, like professor, the practitioner, they give you idea to improve your study. Oh, this is very interesting. I get comment, I got this kind of comment last time when from America, professor from America, when my representative said, hey, this is very interesting thing, because this study is is close to the public, things like that, like so dapat pujian, and then they give you suggestion of your method, and they will give you, it's very interesting, and then attend courses. If you ask me, rajin-rajin lah, because me myself, even I have finished study, I rajin, I'll go for qualitative study, I go for different kind of smart PLS, still go for these courses, because you want to know new knowledge. Don't stop when you finish your study, because we study until we die lah kan. You have to go, because even myself, you ask me, I like to attend courses, even it's paid punya pa, because you appreciate the knowledge. Yeah. All right. With that, I think I think that's it. My, what do you call this? My, any questions?
Okay. Okay, let me start first, Dr. Nelson. It's such an inspiring talk from you, yeah. I mean, yeah, this is based on experience on how you manage your PhD at the same time working, and sekarang masih lagi pergi classes,
Masih pergi.
Mesti pergi classes kan, walaupun last time I remembered most classes that you have to attend face to face. Mana ada virtual dulu kan? So yes, so that's one of the challenge lah. Tapi berjaya juga. Okay, I have one question, Doctor. I think most of the students, I received one student actually messaged me last week. He wanted to do his proposal defense, yeah. Then in the proposal defense, he told me that he wanted to present his pilot test. Okay.
Right.
Dia punya pilot test punya result lah. So I asked him, sir, have you done your pre-test first before your pilot test? And no need, doctor, he said. No need to do that, doctor. No need to pre-test, because that questionnaire has already been validated and already been tested before. So what is your opinion, Dr. Nelson, on this matter?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Izanti. Okay, if you ask me, no need to things like that. Pre-test is more important than pilot test, because from your just now, because yang pre-test study, you sit with your expert, asking whether the question they're going to ask, is it valid or not, is it reliable or not, then they can validate your questionnaire. So okay, that one is expert part. And then when you do the face validity, when you say you go and sit down with your potential respondent, you only pick like 5 gitu, 3 to 5 based on citation lah, 3 to 5, because you need to go through the question. Because what? Because you to make sure that people understand the question or not. If the people not understand the question, nanti dorang punya jawapan, the answer will be different. You will not get because of that, people will answer differently, and then your finding is not what you expect. begitu. You will get different apa begitu. So if you ask me, especially yang now those who doing the apa, go pretest is don't skip pretest. Pretest is more important than pilot test. Pilot test is for you information because of yang orang lama-lama, for example like this old fashion people, they don't go for to upgrade their apa like yang yang all supervisor lah, they don't go for like apa, they think pilot test is more important than pretest. No, actually pretest is more important. If you don't have do the pilot test, is also okay actually. If the examiner understand. But now because you don't want to apa, you don't want to gamble, because let's say if you go for Viva, that particular examiner is old fashioned kind of punya professor. Hey, why you didn't do the pilot test? This is important, but actually, if you do the pretest, you don't do the pilot test. This is like Prof. Ramaya said, because you are only validate, and also even if you said, okay, this question has been used many times, but you have different context, right? Especially like different culture. For them, for example, you asking, for example, you asking like this question, you apply them to the Asian. Question is applied from European perspective. For example, when you apply the question to the Asian perspective, is going to be different. That's why you have to do the pretest. You want to sit down with the expert whether this is a suitable question to ask, and also whether it's it's good, and then some of the question you have to adjust. This why when you do your master by research and also your PhD, you going to do adopt and adapt. Adopt question name mean to say you adopt the question that people already use, but you adapt them, kamu sesuaikan benda itu based on your context. That's why you have to do the adopt and adapt. That's why you need to do the pretest, Dr. Zanti. That's my answer for that.
Yes, I do agree with you, Doctor. Yeah, that's what I told him also, that you need to do your pretest because during the because during your viva later they will ask you how sure that your apa ni is understood by your questionnaire is being understood by the respondent kan. And
Yeah,
also
betul.
pretest ni dia bukan sahaja, it's not only just on the content kan, it's like the language, you
Yep,
know,
correct.
pahaman.
Faham tak kita?
I remembered during my PhD I did pretest. I seek help from language expert, from the hospitality orang hospitality, because I use terms on hospitality as well, and practitioners, and also some orang biasa lah macam students, and also because I think that's important kan, Doctor. So
Yeah,
please
betul.
make sure pretest is important, and so pilot test to check on your reliability. Do we have any question from the floor? You may ask, or you may raise your hand.
Doctor?
Yes.
Romi, ya?
Okay, Cik Romi.
Yes, I want to ask, Doctor, to make a pilot test, so minimum how many respondents we collect the data, right, Doctor?
30. Based on
Normally?
citation, 30.
Sorry?
Minimum 30. 30.
30.
30?
Yes.
Okay.
Minimum.
Minimum, Doctor?
Yes,
Then,
correct.
All right,
once
thank
you
you, Doctor.
you collect data Romi, once you collected the pilot test, kamu tidak boleh pakai the same respondent for your pilot test, cannot be include in your real data collection. Yeah, Romi? Tidak boleh sudah.
Is it can we use the same respondents for the real, and we use for pilot test as well?
Cannot. You cannot use.
Cannot,
That's why
different respondents, Doctor?
different respondent. That's why you must be especially those who going to like interview, like just I mentioned just now, yang manager. Do you think it's easy? 30 for pilot test pun susah kan? Jangan. You have to. That's why pretest is more important, because once you have the pretest, let's say your respondent is limited, because of the nature of your study. This is different, right? The nature of your study say, okay, if you want to ask the manager of hotel in Malaysia, berapa banyak hotel Malaysia? Adalah ratus, tapi you cannot pick all kan, right? Because you're talking about non-probability punya sampling. So mean to say, if you choose, kalau sudah ambil 30, katakan there's 100 100 respondent that you need, for example, you study, and you already collected 30. So berapa lagi tinggal? So you have to consider the nature of your study. If you're ramai yang easy for you to the public, that one kind of respond, okay, don't include the pilot test in your real data collection. Yeah, Romi?
Thank you,
Any,
Encik Rohani.
any more
Ada
questions?
soalan
Ada
lagi? Do you have any question? So interesting Dr. Nelson ni. Best dengar kamu punya ini ni Nelson, Doktor. It's very Dr. Nelson is also famous for supervision. Ramai student berpusu-pusu pergi
Hello.
dengan Dr. Nelson because he is very good supervisor lah. He supervises students very well. Yeah.
Yeah, tapi
No other
they-
question?
Yeah. Good afternoon. Wendy here.
Hi,
Dr.
Wendy.
Nelson and Dr. Isanti. I like to ask one question. I understand now, and it's very good that you make us understand about the pre-test. Pre-test minimum, how many respondents?
3 to 5. 3 to 5, Wendy. Only 3 to 5. You only let 3 to 5 respond because you want to go into certain. You want to know, for example, if you asking this question, you make them understand whether they understand the question or not. If they don't
Okay.
understand, then you have to do something. You have to adjust the question, or
Yeah.
you have to adjust based on the understanding. If you don't understand the question, you have to change the question. Because sometimes I might explain also. I ask people with lower qualification. I can ask academic kind of question. I ask the same the things that they can understand. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to adjust your question based on the understanding because you want to make sure your question that you ask them is they understand the question. If not, they will answer. They will just answer the question without knowing the knowing the understand the question. Yeah, Wendy.
Thank you, Dr. Nelson. And when I have done these three pre-tests, where do I write this report of validity, report of my pre-test in the methodology?
Yep, methodology. You have to mention. Okay, I interview for my pretest. I interview. Okay, this is the academic name, the academician name, for example, like professor from this university, and then also I also interview this student. But maybe you don't need to to give the names. But for the academic, you can mention lah. Okay, but you don't need to mention the name. Just a professor from this university, and also the respondent. Okay, I want to review, and then their comment is like this. They don't understand a few questions, and then you change the question
Yes.
based on on that.
Oh,
Wendy, yeah?
so I write in my report for the pre-test, I just write how many I have tested when, and is there any key points that I need to put in my methodology thesis writing?
You just write. When Zanti, kamu jawab.
Yeah. For example, if there's any changes to from your initial original questionnaire, if there's any, then you have to tell what did the person mention, the recommendation, and you take that into consideration and you adapt that to your new questionnaire before your pilot test.
Okay.
Yes. But usually, dorang, in my case, in my experience, they don't really, memang ada, but not much lah, not that many that they ask for. Bukan the whole questionnaire they ask us to change, no.
Yeah,
But a
correct.
little bit here and there, the terms, the terms I use, this is redundant, you can use this word, kan, Dr. Nelson, begitu kan?
Yeah, correct, Zanti. Yeah, you just want to make sure the question, Wendy, ma'am, you just want to ensure that they understand the question, easy for them to understand.
Oh,
Yeah,
and then
get the message.
I just write there that it has been confirmed that
Yeah. You have to report.
they
Yes.
understand.
You have to report. Yeah, you have to report.
Okay, good. And then I will just put there like little terms to be changed for easier understanding by their fellow members. Yeah.
Correct.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
correct. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Who are other in this phase currently in this phase? Any one of you in this group in this session?
Wendy, you're doing your right now. You're doing your collection that
I'm
pretest.
major correction of my PhD pre-viva. So I got 6 months. I try to do it within these 3 months. And I need to put references, like, for example, the pre-test references, validity for qualitative and quantitative. I'm doing both with it.
Yes.
You do with whom, Wendy?
With
Who's
Dr. Faslinda and
Cik Rosli.
Mr. Rosli. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Congrats lah. You already finished your Viva. Yeah, Viva.
Still a
Congrats.
lot to
Finish
do,
the
a
Viva.
long time.
No, it's good. You just continue. Actually, your PhD like this, you consistently doing every day, doing that, and then you will finish. Don't worry.
Thank you for all your encouragement.
Yeah.
Two of you are very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Cindy.
Any other question? Perhaps Encik Azbullah, tak ada Encik Azbullah? Ada kot Zaris baru first year, baru nak mencari arah tujuan tapi dah nampak cahaya di hujung kali kan?
Boleh tu. You must one of the tips kan, right? You ask Madam Wendy. You have to, rajin-rajin lah. You have to meet your supervisor, get their advice, and then write. Do your job. Because if you just talking and then not writing down, tidak guna juga kan?
Ya,
You know,
betul.
Madam.
Doktor, okay, ya betul, betul kan. Okay, if there's no question, I will not take much long time. Today has a Friday prayer for the
Yeah,
Muslim, yeah. So thank you, Dr. Nelson, on your session. It's such an inspiring and also helpful for the students, yeah, Dr. Nelson, walaupun
Thank you very much for inviting me.
yes, it is not, for your information, these lecturers that we invite, we don't give them any token, you know. Although that I really do hopes that, because they're experts kan in this field, I really do hope that we can give something to them, but we just can give them surat lantikan lah kan, Dr. Kan. Boleh lah.
Okay lah, okay.
Yeah. So maybe we can switch on the camera and Madam Elizabeth, are you there, Madam?